Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Gaia, also known as Granny Gaia on TikTok, Instagram, and of course here on YouTube. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this super cute short sleeve cardigan with tassels. There are many things that I love about this pattern. The first thing being that it's super easy and beginner friendly. That's because it's only made of 2 panels. Since the construction of this cardigan is super easy, only made of 2 panels, that means you can use any stitch you like. I personally chose to use double crochet because it's super fast and easy to do. The second thing I really love about this pattern is that it's super customizable. I personally made it a little longer, but it's very easy for you if you want to make it more cropped or even longer if you want. The tassels are also optional, but I do teach you how exactly I make them and how I attach them to the cardigan. Adding tassels really helps save time on weaving in your ends because we will be turning most of our ends into tassels. So if you do decide to add tassels, you only have a total of 3 ends to weave in at the end. This is a made to measure pattern, so I show you exactly how to calculate your panel width according to your own measurements. This design is part of my crochet-a-thon summer edition series where I make as many crochet summer pieces as I can whilst also filming tutorials for you guys. So if you want to have a cute summer wardrobe, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my next designs. This really is the most easiest project I've ever made, and I really hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments or you can message me on Instagram with pictures of what your issues are, and I'll do my best to reply and help you out. In today's tutorial, I'll be using this number 2 or sport weight yarn. This is 100% cotton. I will tag this yarn in the description box, but you can use any yarn and hook. Just keep in mind that if you are using a larger hook size than what is recommended on your yarn label, you will have bigger gaps or holes in between your stitches. This makes your project more airy, more flowy, more drapey, and that is why I'm using a 5mm hook with my number 2 or sport weight yarn, since I want it to be more breathable for summertime. But if you want smaller or no gaps in between your stitches, you can use the recommended hook size or a smaller hook size. So with my yarn, I'm using a 5mm hook, some scissors, some stitch markers, a needle, and a tape measure. Okay, before I start, let me quickly explain the construction of this cardigan. So we will make 2 rectangular panels, which will sit over our shoulders. So the beginning chain that we make will be the length of our panels. So however long you make your beginning chain, that is how long your cardigan will be. Okay, so we will be doing the foundation double crochet. Now you don't have to do this method. You can just make regular chains if you want, but I highly recommend doing the foundation double crochet because usually our beginning chain is tighter and therefore less stretchy than the rest of our stitches, which can affect the shape of our panels. So if your tension is not consistent throughout, the sides of your panels may not be equal or straight. I will show you step by step exactly how to do the foundation double crochet. Okay, so we're going to start by making a slip knot. Now, something to note, if you are going to add tassels or a fringe to the bottom of your cardigan, make sure that you leave a nice long tail to make your tassel. When you're making the slip knot, I always like to leave out more than I think I'll need because at the end we will be cutting it to even out the tassels. Okay, this is how I make my slip knot. You can make your slip knot however you like. Just like so. Okay, once you've got your slip knot, we're going to chain 2, so yarn over and pull through. That's 1 chain, yarn over and pull through again to make 2 chains. Okay, so now let me just show you exactly where we're going to insert our hook. Here we have our 2 chains, and if you turn it slightly, you will see the back bumps. This is the back bump of the second chain, and this is the back bump of the first chain, okay? We are gonna go into the back bumps. Okay, I hope you can see that. This is the back bump, another back bump here. So we're going to start by yarning over, and I'm going to go into the back bump of the first chain right here. So insert my hook into the back bump, like so. Then we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. Okay, you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first loop on your hook. Okay. You should have 3 loops on your hook again. Now you're going to yarn over, you're going to pull through the first 2 loops. And then with the remaining 2 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops. So this is our first foundation double crochet. And to continue, we are going to slightly turn our work here so you can see the side of the stitch right here. And what we want to do is we're going to insert our hook into these 2 loops right here. Okay, make sure you pick up both of these loops. To make a new foundation double crochet stitch, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook under those 2 loops there, like so. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through 1 loop. So you should have 3 loops on your hook now. Now it's also important that when you pull up your first loop here, you want to make sure that this loop is just as tall as the other 2 loops here. Because if your tension is too tight, so let's say if it's tight like this, then your work will start to curl. So make sure you're kind of pulling it up so that it is as tall as the other 2 stitches here. So now we're going to yarn over and pull through just that first loop. Okay, now we're going to yarn over again and pull through the first 2 loops. And now with the remaining 2 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. So now we have 2 double crochets. Okay, I'm going to show you again. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the side here, picking up both loops. Okay. Then you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop with 3 loops on your hook, making sure you pull this one up tall. You're going to yarn over and pull through just that first loop. Now with 3 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. And then with the remaining 2 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So now we have 3 double crochets. I'm going to show you one more time. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the side here, picking up both loops. You're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, making sure that loop is nice and tall. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through just the first loop. With 3 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. And then with the remaining 2 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So you can see here, this is 1 double crochet stitch. This is the 2nd double crochet stitch. This is the 3rd, and this is the 4th. Okay, so likewise, here you can see that's 1 stitch, 2 stitches, 3 stitches, and 4 stitches. So you're just going to continue making your foundation double crochets until it reaches your desired length for your cardigan. Now this is really important, how to measure the length on your body. So we're going to drape the foundation double crochet chain over your shoulder like this. Okay, make sure that these 2 ends are at the same level. For me, I like this length. I want my cardigan to be this long. So this is where I'm going to stop making my foundation double crochets. But if you want your cardigan to be cropped or shorter, that is totally up to you. You can just make less foundation double crochet stitches. And of course, if you want it to be longer, you can make more foundation double crochet stitches. Now, just keep in mind that we will be adding tassels to the end here, so it'll be a little bit longer here. So just keep that in mind for the overall length of the cardigan if you choose to add them. Okay, so once you're happy with the length of your foundation double crochet chain, I'm going to show you how to continue. So my next row, I'm going to change color. I'll show you how to change color now. So I'm just going to make 1 more foundation double crochet. So again, we yarn over, insert our hook into the side of the stitch, pull up a loop, then pull through the first loop, then pull through the next 2 loops. And now on the last 2 loops, we're going to pull through with our new color. Okay, so I'm grabbing my new color. Make sure you leave a long tail if you're planning to make tassels. So we're going to hook that on and pull it through the remaining 2 loops. Now, here's where you can adjust. You can pull on the end if you want a longer tassel, or you can pull on the working yarn to make it shorter. It's completely up to you. So now before we continue, I'm just going to cut off our first color. Again, making sure that you cut it long enough to make tassels. And then I'm going to take these 2 ends and tie a knot. This just helps secure the yarn. And tie a double knot. Okay. And now to continue, we're going to chain 2, turn your work, and now we can work into all of these stitches, making 1 double crochet in each stitch. So this is our first stitch. We're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that first stitch, yarn over, pull through. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. Now with 2 loops left on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through those remaining 2 loops. And that is your first double crochet stitch. So we're going to continue doing this all the way down until we reach the end of our foundation double crochet chain. I'll show you again. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. With 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. Now with 2 loops remaining on your hook, yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops to make your double crochet. Okay, continue doing this. I'll show you one last time. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. With 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. With 2 loops left on your hook, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. Okay, so continue doing this all the way down until you reach the end, and then I'll show you one more time how to change color. Because for me, I will be changing color every row. Okay, so I'm reaching the end. You can see here I have 2 stitches left of this row, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish that. And on my last stitch, I'm going to change color. So this is my last stitch now. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that last stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. With 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. And now with the remaining 2 loops on your hook, we're going to change color. So I'm going to finish off this double crochet stitch with my new color. Okay, so we're going to hook it on and pull it through those last 2 loops. Again, make sure that your ends are long enough to make tassels. And then we're going to cut off our previous color. Again, make sure you cut it off at a length long enough to make tassels. And then we're going to make a double knot with these 2 ends to secure the color change. Okay, and now we can continue making our double crochets like normal. So if you don't want to change color, all you have to do is just finish making your double crochets like normal and then chain 2 and turn your work. That is it. But I just showed you how you can change color. Okay, so to continue to our 3rd row, we're going to chain 2, turn your work, and now we're going to make double crochets into each stitch all the way along, just like we did in the previous row. So yarn over, insert your hook into that very first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. With 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops to make a double crochet. Okay, so I believe you are well versed in making double crochets since we just made a whole row of them. So we're going to do the same exact thing, make 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way across, and then at the end you can if you want to change color, then you can rewind the video to watch how you change color. So that's all for this pattern. Basically, we're going to keep making rows and rows of double crochet. I'm going to keep alternating between these two colors, changing color every row. So keep making rows of double crochets until it reaches a width you are happy with. So to calculate your panel width, you will need your chest circumference and the width of your neck. So take your measuring tape and you're gonna make sure that you get it all the way around, measuring your bust. My bust is about 32 inches. And then we measure the width of our neck. So from one side to the other, mine is about 5 inches. So continue making your double crochet rows until it reaches the width. Now to calculate the width, you will need to take your chest circumference and your neck width, which I've shown you how to take measurements of. And you will follow how I calculate my panel width on the screen. So you will substitute your own chest circumference measurement and your own neck width measurement. So I will use my own measurements as an example. My chest circumference was 32 inches and my neck width was 5 inches. So to calculate the panel width, we will take our chest circumference and divide it by 4. So for me, that is 32 divided by 4, which gives me 8. Okay, so note that down. Now take your neck width and divide that by 4. So for me, my neck width was 5 inches. So I'm going to take 5 and divide it by 4, which gives me 1.2. Okay, note that down. Now we are going to take the sum of those two calculations we just made. So I'm going to do 8 plus 1.25, which gives me 9.25. So that number there is going to be our panel width. Okay, so here is one panel that I have just finished, and it measures about 9.25 inches, which is what I need to reach. Okay, so once you have made enough double crochet rows to reach your panel width, here I have made my last stitch on my last row, and I'm just going to chain 1 and cut off my yarn. Here I've already cut it. Make sure again to leave a long enough tail for your tassel. Then we'll pull it through and pull to tighten. Okay, so that's one panel done. So now we are going to make the same exact thing. Make the same number of starting chains or starting foundation double crochets and make the same number of rows. So make 2 identical panels and then we will sew them together. Now, when you are finished making your second panel, do not cut off your yarn because we will still need the yarn to be attached so we can sew it together. Okay, so here I am finishing up my last row of my second panel here. I will show you how to move on from there. We are going to connect the 2 panels together. To do that, we are going to join with a double crochet kind of slip stitch. I'm not too sure the official name for this technique, but I will show you exactly how I do it. So you can see here I have 1 more stitch left and I'm going to change color in that last stitch. So just like we have been doing, going to yarn over, insert my hook into the last stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. With 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. And now here's where we change color. So grabbing my other color, I'm going to finish off that double crochet. Again, just making sure that my ends are all the same length so that we can make even tassels. And then I'm going to cut off my old color. And then we will tie a double knot with these 2 ends to secure our color change. So now that we are ready to connect the panels, before we do anything, we need to do a little bit of calculations. So you're going to take the total number of stitches you have in one panel. So for me, since I did in the beginning 166 foundation double crochets, that will mean I should also have 166 stitches all the way across my panel. So I'm going to take 166 and divide that by 2. So you will substitute your number of stitches you have and divide that by 2. So for me, 166 divided by 2 is 83. So now what I'm going to do with that number is I'm going to count 83 stitches along here and mark the 83rd stitch. And that will basically mark the midpoint of our panel. Okay, I'll show you how to mark that midpoint stitch that we just calculated. I'm just going to count from one end up until I get to my number, which is 83. Again, that number may be different for you. Just make sure you substitute your own stitch count into that equation. So starting here, this is my first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I've counted. This is my 83rd stitch, and I will mark that with a stitch marker. Okay, so that's what you want to do to both of the panels. Okay, so I have marked both of the panels, and now we can get to connecting. Okay, so once you have your panels lined up, I'm going to show you how to connect. So we are going to, after chaining 2, we're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that first stitch of the panel you're working on, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now you should have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. Now we are going to take our second panel and we are going to insert our hook into that very first stitch. Okay. Now yarn over and pull through that first stitch and those 2 loops on your hook. Okay, so that is how we're going to join our 2 panels. I'll show you again. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch of the panel you're working on. Yarn over, pull up a loop. With 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. And with the remaining 2 loops on your hook, you are going to insert your hook into the next stitch on the opposite side. Okay, and now you're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. Just like so. Okay, I'm going to show you one more time. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that next stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. With 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. And now you're going to insert your hook into that next stitch of the opposite panel. Now you're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. Okay, so let me just show you what it's supposed to look like. So here, the side we are working on is going to be our wrong side or our bad side because you will be able to see the seam. But underneath here, it'll just look like regular double crochets. So this is why I decided to choose this method to join the 2 panels, just so that you can have a more seamless look. Okay, so we're going to continue doing this all the way down until we reach the marked stitch. Okay, so you can see now I have one more stitch left to go into on both of my panels. So I'll show you how to finish off. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, which should be the stitch that is marked. Then we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. With 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. And then insert your hook into the stitch on the opposite side that is also marked. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on our hook. Okay, so now we can chain 1 and cut off our yarn. Okay, pull to tighten, and you have seamed up the back side. Okay, so this is what I have so far. I have seamed up the back of the panels. So this is what it's looking like, and now what you want to do is you're going to try this on. Okay, just put it like that. Okay, and this is my back and this is the front. So now what we want to do is we're going to seam up these sides here to create an armhole. And to do that, we first need to mark where we want to make that seam. So this is again very customizable. If you want your sleeve to be more loose and oversized, you can kind of stop around this area. So it'll kind of have a more loose look. But if you want your sleeve to be a little bit more tight fit, you can seam it closer to your underarm like so. So it'll have a more tighter fit like this. So it's completely up to you how you want this to look and how you want this to fit. When you are marking your seam for the sides, make sure that the ends of your panels are on the same level. Put them together like so. And however you like it to fit, that's the stitch you're gonna mark. So for me personally, I want it to fit a little tight, but not too tight. I think this is pretty good. So these are the stitches I'm going to mark. Okay, double check you like how that looks. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to seam up the sides. Okay, so before we stitch up the sides, we just need to make sure that we are marking both sides. So here I've just folded it over. So this is the back seam here, and you're just folding this over. We want to place another stitch marker around here, but of course we want it to be equal. So what I'm going to do to make sure that the stitches are even, I'm going to count how many stitches I have here all the way until the stitch marker, and then I'm going to count on the opposite side as well and make sure I mark that same stitch to make sure they're even. Also, just for your information, I'm going to count this as a stitch here. Okay, same on this side. I will also count this as a stitch. So when I'm counting, I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I've counted. I have 64 stitches in between from here to the red stitch marker. So this red stitch marker is marking the 65th stitch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to count 64 stitches on the other side as well and mark the 65th stitch. Okay, so once I have marked one side, I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side here. Count 64 stitches and mark the 65th stitch on both sides of this panel. To seam up the sides here, you're going to make sure that you are working on the wrong side. So I'm going to turn my work around inside out so that the seam is now on the outside and this will be the wrong side. So now we're working on the wrong side. This is really important because we of course want the seams to be all on the wrong side. So I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom here and I'm going to join my yarn. I insert my hook into that very first stitch. It can be a little hard to see with the foundation double crochet. I'm going to hook on that yarn and pull it through. Again, leaving a long enough tail to make tassels. And then I'm going to make a knot. I'm going to insert my hook back into that same stitch that we joined our yarn into. I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop. And then I'm going to chain 2. And now we can start joining. So we're going to use the same method we did when we joined up the back. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that same stitch, that very first stitch. Okay. Then I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. And now I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch of the opposite panel. For me, it'll be right here. Okay, then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on my hook. So we're going to continue doing that all the way down until we reach our stitch markers. Show you again. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, With 3 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. With the remaining 2 loops on your hook, you're going to insert your hook into the next stitch on the opposite panel, like so, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. So I will meet you back again once I reach these stitch markers. Okay, so I have reached my stitch markers, so I'm just going to do my last connecting stitch. So just like we've been doing, this will be my last one. We are going to chain 1 and cut off your yarn. Pull to tighten, and you are finished with one side of the armhole. So now you're going to do the same exact thing that you did on this side to the opposite side. So start by marking your stitches for the armhole. Then you will join your yarn to the bottom here, stitch it all the way up until you reach the stitch markers, and then you can cut off your yarn. Okay, now we're going to add some tassels to the bottom of the cardigan. Make sure you are working on the wrong side. We're basically going to add tassels so that the fringe is more full. And don't worry, I'm not done here. After we add the tassels, we will go in and cut the bottom to make it more neat. So the next tassel I'm going to add is to this purple row right here. And since it's a purple row, I like using the same color yarn that I did for that row. I'm going to take my measuring tape here because this will help make sure that all our tassels are even. Take my yarn for the tassels, and then I'm going to measure 12 inches. I'm going to do one more round, so I'm just holding it like this and sort of doubling the yarn here, making sure they're the same length. So that's one round. I'm going to do it again. This is going to be our second round. One more time. Our third round, like so. Again, just making sure it's around 12 inches long. So once you have around 4 strands together, I'm going to cut the yarn. And now at around the midpoint, which would be 6 inches, I'm just going to pinch it right here. Okay, make sure you keep it pinched. Now taking my hook, I'm going to insert my hook into that row. So here you can see there's this one stitch right here. I'm going to go right in between these 2 stitches. So insert my my hook, and then we're going to pull up or hook on the strands of yarn that we just made here. And you're going to pull it through. Okay, and then I'm going to place my 2 fingers, my thumb and my pointer finger, in that hole. And now I'm going to pull through these strands here through this hole, but also remember to take the end that you have here that we have from changing colors. So just make sure you grab it all together and pull it through. And we're just going to tighten, pull it to tighten, and there you go, you have one tassel done. So this is the wrong side here, but if you flip it over, this is what it should look like on the good side. Again, don't worry about this here, we will cut them later. So we're going to continue doing this all the way around for each row. I will probably do maybe 3 more tassels with you just so that you can get the hang of it before I leave you to do it alone. Next row is this lighter purple, so I'm just going to grab that same yarn. And then against my measuring tape, I'm going to measure out 12 inches. Then I'm going to do 1 round, double it up 1 round, then a second round, then a third round. So once you have a total of 4 strands, can't really see, but there are 4 strands here, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to cut our yarn, lay it against the measuring tape again, and about the midpoint at 6 inches, I'm going to pinch it right there. Then going to our cardigan here, This is the row we're going to join our tassel to. I'm going to go in between these 2 stitches right here. Then I'm going to hook my yarn onto the hook, pull it through, then insert my fingers through that hole and grab the yarn, making sure to grab that loose end as well. Okay, pull it all through and pull to tighten the tassel. Okay, that is another tassel finished. Okay, I'm going to do another one with you guys. So my next row is this purple row here. Grabbing that same purple yarn, making sure I get 12 inches. Okay, double it up 1 round, double it up the 2nd time, and the last 3rd time. Then I'm going to cut it. Okay, and then at the midpoint, at the center here, I'm going to pinch it and then take my hook, insert it right in between the last 2 stitches of the row, hook on my yarn and pull it through. Then insert my hook through those loops, or insert my finger through those loops, and then grab the yarn, including this loose end here, and pull it through. Pull to tighten, and another tassel is complete. So I'm going to do this one more time with you guys. Measure against your measuring tape, 12 inches, double it up once, double it up twice, and double it up one more time. Cut off the yarn, and then at the midpoint, pinch it, and then we're going to insert a hook right in between those 2 last stitches of the row and pull through that yarn. Insert your fingers and pull it through, including the loose end. Okay, pull it through that hole and you have another tassel. Okay, so this is the wrong side. Like I said, the right side looks like this. You're going to continue doing this all the way around the bottom of your cardigan, and I will come back to clean up these ends. Okay, so I've reached a part where there's the seam, and I just want to show you guys how I personally do it, just in case some of you may need some help. So I have my yarn ready, it's already prepared, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert it in between the last 2 stitches, so just right here, and just like normal, add your tassel, just like you've been doing for the rest of your other tassels. This is no different. Of course, remember to add the loose end, pull everything through and tighten it. So whenever you get to the seam, everything is just like normal. We will continue adding our tassels in between those 2 last stitches of every row. So once you have attached all of your tassels, we can now go in and cut off the bottom to make them all nice and even. Now, if you want to, you can steam the tassels just to make the strands of yarn more like straight. But I personally don't mind the look of this, so I'm not going to steam mine. Just make sure it's all, straight and aligned before you start cutting. And I always recommend cutting at a longer length than you think, just in case, because we are cutting this by hand, so just in case you decide that it's too short or anything like that, it's always best to keep them longer. So I'm just gonna cut little by little. It might help to drape this over a chair or a table so that the yarn kind of falls evenly. So yeah, that's basically it for this cardigan. You're gonna even out your tassels and then you will weave in your ends. You've made it to the end of the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed making your new top. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!